You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99 WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM W.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Duke's women's college basketball coach, Carol Lawson, said the teams played with the men's basketball for the first half of a loss to Florida State on Sunday. The 16th-ranked Blue Devils lost to FSU in a landslide in Tallahassee, and she's blaming the ball. After her Duke team beat Pittsburgh on Thursday, Lawson ended her news conference by stating, quote, "This would never happen in a men's game. This would never happen. It's embarrassing for our sport. The circumference of a women's ball is about an inch smaller than a men's ball and is typically 2 ounces lighter." Lawson said that throughout the first half, Duke players were complaining about the ball, and it was addressed at halftime. The ACC released a statement saying, "We have concluded throughout our investigation that it was not a men's ball." The conference in Florida State is standing by that statement. Cincinnati Bengals running back Joe Mixon has been issued an arrest warrant for misdemeanor aggravated menacing, according to court records. The complaint was filed Thursday in Ohio's Hamilton County. The Bengals said they were aware of the charges against Mixon. According to the warrant, Mixon allegedly pointed a gun at an individual January 21st and said the person should be popped in the face, unquote. The warrant states the incident occurred on the intersection of Walnut Street and East 3rd Street in downtown Cincinnati, one day before the Bengals defeated the Bills in the divisional round of the AFC playoffs. In 2014, Joe Mixon was charged with misdemeanor assault for punching a woman. At the time, Mixon was a running back at the University of Oklahoma. He alleged he was called a racial slur, which prompted him to use an anti-gay slur before the assault occurred. Mixon was drafted by the Bengals in the second round of the 2017 NFL Draft and signed a 4-year extension in 2020. Light night for big-time college basketball. But you do have number 22 San Diego State, who's 17-5 on the year and 8-2 in the Mountain West. They're giving up 5.5 points to 18-5 and 8-2 Boise State. That game is at 9 p.m. Eastern on FS1. And in the NBA on national television, NBA TV, the Phoenix Suns are at the Celtics. Boston giving up 9 over under 220. The Hawks, 9 p.m. Eastern at Utah. Utah favored by 1.5 over under 241. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Rum and Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pub cup. Really? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station. The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac McGee. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Did I call it or did I call it? I said the over-under for the Nets imploding once KD got injured was the Super Bowl. We didn't even get to the week of.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio's Braves Country HD, wherever you stream, and Braves Country on 99.1 FM, The Key. I'm Mac McGee. We got Bobby on the way. We've got Tones on the way. We're going to do the cool games. We're going to do a couple of things we haven't done before since this is Friday. We're going to start leaning into the whole Friday thing. So Tones and I are going to give cheers and jeers at the end of the show. You don't want to miss that. And we're going to do some Florida Man. Why not? We're up here in North Florida, South Georgia, right there on the border, so might as well go get – we used to do this a long time ago and was going through some notes. We had a lot of fun with this. But before we get into anything, if y'all have missed this, this is beyond comical at this point with the NBA and the prima donnas and as the Kobe Bryant meme would say, soft, of these NBA players who are making $1 gazillion a year, and yet they want to pout and be traded. So the newest is Kyrie Irving once again has told the Nets he wants to be traded before the deadline, which, by the way, is only 6 days away. It's only 6 days away. He can leave this summer as an unrestricted free agent, earning $36.9 million next year in the final year of his deal. He would probably make more as a unrestricted free agent next year per year. So everyone kind of suspects that he was going to opt out. And he's tried to be on his best behavior after the ridiculousness that started this season off, which is always a thing with Kyrie. No one's ever doubted his talent. What they doubt is what you're going to get from him, the effort, the care, the do I give a darn about him. And it comes and it goes. And when it's here and it comes, he's very good. He's averaging 27 points a game this year. I think 5 assists. But when it goes, it goes. And he doesn't show up. He will cause all kinds of issues in the locker room. And so, with all that being said, what we're dealing with now is another NBA player. Last year, remember, it was James Harden, excuse me. And strangely enough, the Nets. And a couple of years ago, when they first put this team together, I said it back then, this team was never going to win a championship. Though everyone was excited about the talent in the room with KD and Kyrie and Harden, all three of them want the easy way out. And if you don't believe that, ask an Oklahoma City Thunder fan who had two of the three in OKC. Harden gets traded to Houston, then he pouts and gets his way traded out of there. Then to New Jersey, Brooklyn now. They'll always be the New Jersey Nets in my head. And then he pouts and finds his way to Philly, which right now he's saying and doing all the right things. But stay tuned on that because you never know. Then you've got Kevin Durant, who left to go basically ride the coattails of the Warriors and win a couple of rings and left OKC high and dry. Remember, at one point, OKC had an absolute juggernaut of a team. If they could have kept that together, they had Westbrook, they had Durant, and they had Harden. And also Serge Ibaka that everyone kind of forgets about. And back then, it was the belief that you had to build with one interior and two exterior because everyone was going off of the way that the Celtics did it in the late 2000s. The new Kobe Lakers followed suit with Gasol. And then, of course, the Heat followed that same model, making sure they had Chris Bosh. And I think if they had to do it all over again, OKC would have gotten rid of Ibaka and they would have kept the other three and see what they could have done. But that's not where we're at today. Where we're at today is another crybaby who wants to get his way, and he's going to hold the team hostage. And this is the thing that is turning fans off from the NBA. Because what about the fan who either A, lives in the city of said team and is pouring all this money into going to games, not just the tickets, but you think about all the expenses it takes to go to a game nowadays, the parking, the food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Heck, the gas just to get down there nowadays, right? And that fan gets scorned. And what about the fan that's being asked to watch it at home and they don't live in the market, so you're asking them to buy the NBA League Pass? If it's not someone crying and wanting to leave and not wanting to tough it out, it's what I think is just as worse. It's the load management junk. But now Kyrie wants out of Brooklyn because they don't know when KD's going to be back. At first they thought it was 2 weeks, and I think he's questioned whether KD is going to play. So there's another fly in the ointment there. And if he does play, how good are they going to be? How is he going to be able to ramp it up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Trade deadline is Thursday. And then you'll have the All-Star game about a week later. And what's strange about that is used to the trade deadline came after the All-Star break, which I always thought was a pretty good idea because you give the general managers several days of downtime to just basically talk shop and figure out what they want to do with their team. Now you're doing it before the All-Star game. And I'm sure there's a marketing reason behind it. It's always that with the NBA. But because it is moved up nowadays, they've got 6 days to figure out where to send Kyrie. And if I'm the Nets, I send him somewhere. Now, I know the easy, logical place is where he was trying to bully his way into this summer. And they couldn't get the deal done. He wanted to be a Laker. He wanted to go return with LeBron. And everything's going to be hunky-dory, and they're all going to be besties again. I'm telling you right now, he gets straight to the Lakers. I give that 3-4 weeks. Something's going to happen where the ultra-competitive LeBron is going to get ticked off at Kyrie, because probably not something he does on the court. It'll be something he does off the court. It'll either be another ridiculous take on social media that he has to go back and retract and get a suspension for. Or it'll be something more to the like of he'll decide that he doesn't want to play as much. He's going to get out there to LA and the bright lights of big city. And hey, sorry guys, I'm not coming to practice because I told Nike or Gatorade or whatever that I'm going to cut this commercial today. It'll be something like that. And LeBron is still, whether you love him or hate him, LeBron is the ultimate competitor. That's going to drive him bonkers. Kyrie, this entire time that he has been in the NBA, he's either been in a market that wasn't a big market, or he's been in a market where he has totally alienated the fan base that no one has really been beating down his door to get him to endorse anything. He does have some endorsements, don't get me wrong, but when you consider the fact that Kyrie Irving played in Boston and in New York City, he should be Madison Avenue's favorite son at this point. But you don't see him in a lot of stuff because he's alienated himself. So, with all that being said, we are looking at a wild 6 days. We were already planning on paying attention to the trade market, and the NBA is weird. Some years the trades don't really pop off and they're very dull, and there's a piece here and there, but typically you're getting moves that are non-consequential for the average fan. You know, the big leatherhead is going to say, "Hey, man, that's a big move. You're going to help out with the interior defense, et cetera, and your average Joe's going to be asleep at the wheel. What? I don't care about that. I want to know where the stars are going." It's the same thing with most trading deadlines. I guess baseball has a little more. Baseball tends to have a little more star power at the trading deadline, but there's even years when that falls short. It hasn't been many, but now there's a very good chance he's going to get traded, because if you know you're probably going to lose him, get something for him and just get him off your books and get him out of your locker room and give yourself whatever chance you have of trying to save that franchise. And you know who's going to be next? KD. He probably won't do it this week. He'll probably wait till the summer. He's going to want out. And I'd say get rid of him, build the whole thing back up. And this time, Nets ownership group, Nets higher ups, when you go to build your team and you're spending buckets and buckets of money on individuals, make sure that you know the characters of these individuals. Make sure that you know that this is a guy that you want to build around and that is going to go to the post every day, is going to give it his all. Whether you hate LeBron or not, you can't say the guy doesn't try to win. But when you talk about some of these other guys in the NBA, I mean, I think of some of the younger ones that I would build around. Jason Tatum comes to mind. He's got a lot of flaws in his game currently, along with Jaylen Brown of the Celtics. But you can tell they want to go out and win. So the issue with them long term is just they need seasoning. Even the great Michael Jordan, I remember every year before he became like dominant, they would talk about what he worked on in the offseason and worked on it vigorously. Same thing with all the greats in the game. It doesn't get as much coverage anymore because I don't think a lot of people like to follow it. I think it bores them. But you will notice as the years go on, guys improving their three-point shooting, their ball handling, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the types of guys that you want to build around. And you're in Brooklyn, New York. You've got the money. You've got the fans. Brighten the paint on your floor would be the first thing I would do at the Nets. Every time I watch the Nets on TV, I think there's something wrong with the color settings on my television. Someone else was doing that the other day too, and I was like, "Oh my word!" It was college. It was Middle Tennessee State. MTSU's got that same gray, just dingy, dull look. And I think they believe that the other colors off of the paint is going to pop. But to me, what it does, it gives a very depressing feel. So that would be the first thing I would do. But the second thing I'm doing if I'm the Nets, I clear house, trade all the bozos. And this time when I go to rebuild it, I'm going to make sure that I rebuild it with guys that want to win and that the fans are going to get behind, the fans are going to love. And there's plenty of guys out there, guys like Trae Young. I know there's been rumors about Trae Young wanting a trade, but I haven't heard the stink where he comes out and demands it. Trae Young is a guy that you want to build around because he tries, he wants to win, he's going to get better and better and better. But if the Lakers are dumb enough to take on Kyrie Irving and give you anything back, I say do it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Bobby's going to join us. He's going to tell us what in the world the Arizona Cardinals are doing. They're asleep at the wheel. Hire a coach already, or maybe they'll make a trade for Kyrie. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country, 99.1 FM, The Key, and 99 and Braves Country HD wherever you stream.
But, I want to say one thing in all seriousness. I feel sorry for you people that don't drink. I mean it, because when you wake up in the morning, that's as good as you're going to feel all day.
Armchair.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
You're talking about a bunch of unproven kids who were in the prom. Literally, they were in the prom like 6 months ago at their high school.
No, they weren't because they were
on lockdown.
Exactly.
Okay, they were at a
These are promless teenagers.
If he's from a Big Ten state,
they were at a.
If he's from a Big Ten state, he didn't have prom. I can guarantee you that.
They were at a virtual prom. Anyway, so it's tough for Wisconsin.
That's called porn. That's called porn.
Stop it. They get a break this week because I got a mess to clean up, guys. Yeah.
Virtual.
There's
prom.
my walk off for the day. Thanks, Mac. I got to dry my keyboard out now.
Armchair.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves.
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah.
Good.
Maybe, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm waiting for the Cardinals to hire a head coach, as you alluded to. It's counting down the days. Might be months at this point.
What is going on there? I mean,
I don't know. I guess they were all in on Dan Quinn, and then that fell through, so they went for Sean Payton. He went to Denver, and now I don't know if they have a plan.
I don't understand it at all. Them and the Colts. They're the last two left. And the only thing I can think of is if they're coveting someone who's going to be coaching in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Could possibly be this is just a thought. Could it be Bieniemy?
That's a possibility. That for the Colts job, maybe, but for the Cardinals, they requested an interview with Jonathan Gannon. They won't be able to do it until after the Super Bowl. But if that's the reason for the holdup, then Jonathan Gannon might be their guy. For the Colts, though, it could be Bieniemy. It could be Steichen. Those are two options, two guys that they requested to interview, and I think they've already interviewed them once, actually.
I think it's about time for Bieniemy to at least get a shot.
I agree.
I know I've heard from several outlets that he supposedly just gives really bad interviews. And that's why you're seeing guys get first time go around interviews that are getting these jobs that he's getting overlooked by.
Yeah.
One of the best examples is the Texans, because they've interviewed Bieniemy in the past, and yet they go out and grab D'Amico Ryans. Is that because he had the tie to the Texans? Maybe, but it's still it's a little odd at this point. I would just tell him to find a way to improve your process during the interview, because you're costing yourself millions, and the last thing you want is to something go awry one season and they're going to point the finger at you like they did with Byron Leftwich down in Tampa. And it may not even be fair that Leftwich got let go, but heads got to roll. Anytime something happens, they're going to blame somebody, and the guys that are making that decision, they're not going to let the blame fall on them if they can help it. So they're going to point finger, going, "Oh no, the problem is this guy over here." And if I'm Bieniemy, now one thing I've never heard, and it could be a possibility too, maybe he's expecting too long or too big of a contract in general, right? And maybe that's scaring some away, because they may be wanting him to take the lower end, and he may be saying, man, I'm already a pretty good paid offensive coordinator here, and life's pretty good with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Maybe I'll just wait out old man Reid to retire, and I'll just become the heir apparent.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have to do much in Kansas City right now to get a check. I mean, he's an offensive coordinator in an offense that has plays called by Andy Reid. I still think he has a role in that offense and, coming up with the game planning and stuff. But overall, he doesn't have too hard of a job, and he's got a lot of job security. I don't think he'd get fired anytime soon. It would take a complete collapse for years. But yeah, he probably has some demands that other coaches who don't have as much security at their current jobs ask for. I think he's in a great spot in Kansas City, so he might not be in any rush to go anywhere.
I've got another theory. Maybe he's intentionally sabotaging, because he's like, dude, I have to do nothing. I get paid well. No one's ever going to fire me here. Why do I want to run off and go grab the Texans and see if I can turn them around? Why do I want to be the Jaguars head coach? Why don't I just want to go, you know what, man? If Andy Reid retires anytime soon and I get Patrick Mahomes in my prime, then my stock at the end of the day is going to be much higher. I'll just ride this baby out. It reminds me of years ago, there was a backup quarterback for Dan Marino for years. And I mean years. He was the backup. And my grandfather and I used to joke growing up watching the Dolphins, like, man, this guy's got the best job in the world. Because Marino, until like the early to mid 90s, Marino never missed a game. He tore his Achilles one year, and the backups were rushing to duty at that point. I believe that was Steve DeBerg. But in the 80s, you just sat back there, held the clipboard, and you always knew who Don Strock was on the field. Now they didn't just give him a different colored jacket, but Don Strock, because he never hardly had to practice and put pads on and all that kind of stuff, and I guess he was an avid golfer, he had the most golden tan you have ever seen on an NFL player on the sidelines. Serious, go back and look it up. Look at the photos and look at the video of Don Strock on the sidelines for the Miami Dolphins, and he would call the plays from the sidelines. and would always have a different color cap or jacket or shirt or whatever, so you knew who they were. And all teams did that because back then you didn't have the radio stuff going on in the helmet. But he looked like he just came back from the Bahamas for 2 weeks. And what he started towards the end of his tenure in Miami is he would hold out during the not just the OTAs, but he would hold out during summer camp. And then he would always agree to essentially the same contract, maybe $1 more or $1 less after the holdout about a week before the season started. They didn't even want to have to go out there and do anything. 1 year it bit him in the butt. He held out in the Dolphins. I can't remember if they traded him or if they just released him. And he ended up, man, you talk about going full circle. He had to go and sign a contract with the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh.
And ended up playing quite a bit because of injuries to Testaverde and a couple other guys. So he went from like, man, life is a beach, literally, to, are you kidding me right now? It's snowing sideways, and I'm playing for Cleveland. So I do wonder if Bieniemy's just going, man.
It's like the same thing. I mean, he doesn't have to do much. He's in arguably the best offense in football. He's got it made. He's an offensive coordinator. He has job security. Like you said, he may take over as head coach one day. He's got it. I don't see a good reason to leave unless he gets a crazy offer thrown his way.
The defensive coordinator for Florida State for a little over 2 decades, Mickey Andrews, similar situation. So Florida State, they were always able to put up points the moment Bowden got there, but what turned them into the national powerhouse that Bowden had them at was Mickey Andrews' defense. But a lot of that had to do with the recruiting that Bowden was just a guru when it came to recruiting. Like no mom ever wanted to say no to Bowden when he came into the living room. He had that all shucks charm, right? And I remember several times them asking Mickey Andrews about head coaching positions around the country. And at this point, he was the highest paid coordinator in the country. And he said, why would I want to leave this? Are you kidding me? Because I'm in Florida. All the pressure's on Bobby. And our defensive game plan most days is man on man and blitz when I want to blitz because they had all the athletes. So I just wonder if Bieniemy's like, I mean, what do I have to do here? Andy Reid draws up most of the stuff. I just have to sit in the meeting and nod along and go, yep, that's right. Listen to Andy.
What he said.
And not to mention the fact you're working with the arguably, well, now that Brady may or may not be retired, he is the best quarterback in football, right? So the only thing that they're missing is another Tyreek Hill type or some elite wide receiver, but they'll get that in the draft eventually.
They'll get that, and they have some guys on their team like Sky Moore could develop into that. He's still a rookie. He's had some big moments in big games. He had a big return last week. So he's come through in some big moments.
We're talking about the one where there were 9 blocks in the back.
Hey man, it didn't get called.
Did he have the big return, or did his illegal blockers have a big return?
That may have been the case, but regardless, he came through and he made a big play, and then along with that, he got some reps because a lot of receivers went down for the Chiefs last week.
I was watching with a buddy of mine, and he was like, look at that block in the back. And I was like, which one? Which one? There's like 9 of them.
Well, that on the last play or the last play of the Chiefs offensive drive where Osai hit Mahomes out of bounds, I could have counted 2 missed holdings on that play on the offensive line. So I think it's fair to say the Chiefs got some help there.
Those I'm a little more lenient on because you could call offensive holding on almost every play at every level of football.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you see a play that you're like, man, those were clean executed blocks. There's usually a thumb sticking somewhere that shouldn't be. They're grabbing, they're biting, they're clawing. I mean, I say what they ought to do is just let them hold each other, and let's get back to old school football. Let the defense hold each other. Let the offense hold each other. Let's have a scrum. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Kyrie Irving, I did find it interesting. Where's the comment? So one of our viewers is talking about Kyrie. Now, I think he said it to the Lakers, but he's got a couple of good points. The Raptors would be interesting. I don't know if the Raptors would put up with his nonsense. But you know who's dumb enough to put up with his nonsense, as the comment is here, is the Mavericks. Mark Cuban's pretty stupid. For a guy who's as smart as he is, he's pretty stupid.
I could see them making a trade for that. That when he was requesting a trade in the offseason as well, they were a name that was brought up. Like you mentioned, the Lakers, they could be a suitor for him. Now, the only way I see him going to the Lakers is if the Nets give Kyrie the chance to choose what team he's traded to, because they won't have the best package to offer the Nets. There's just no chance of that. So that's the only way that can happen.
They're not going to have a good. Nobody's going to offer up a big package for what. When you see what the Nets get for Kyrie, everyone's going to be shocked because it's 6 days before the deadline. He's a free agent if he wants to be at the end of the year. You know what he's going to do if you don't trade him, because it's who he is. He's going to quit. He's going to give up. He's going to not show up for meetings, whatever. He may not even play. He'll play to an extent because he wants to become a free agent. So I don't know if he'll cause like an outright stink, but he's not going to give you his best effort. And let him get any kind of a twinge or a tweak, and he's going to be out 3 weeks with the quote unquote injury. I think the domino effect of this is it probably won't happen until this summer, but KD's going to start asking for a trade again.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, there's been some talk about maybe them trying to just sell all the way at the deadline. I don't know. They'd probably get a better return for KD now, with teams potentially being desperate, wanting to get a guy like KD and go for a run at the championship. But I think it'll either be at this deadline or probably this summer that he's moved.
Yeah, because remember, there was a big firestorm last offseason, them talking about KD to the Celtics.
Yeah.
And I was on the fence as a fan, and then I started hearing about what they would want. I was like, no. I don't want any part of getting rid of because I knew Tatum wouldn't be involved, but I don't want any part of getting rid of Brown. I think Brown and Tatum is what you build around. And if they're expecting the moon and stars for a guy that you're having to pay through the nose, like there's no.
Yeah. Well, another team that could be interested in KD or Kyrie, if KD potentially, they were a favorite to get him last offseason. But Kyrie now, they'll probably need a point guard. I think they're moving on from Chris Paul. The Suns could be looking at Kyrie here. That could be a move they make.
You know who needs to go after him is a team like the Hawks, because you've got the cap room. If you could put Trae Young with KD, you might have something there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about teams that are going to be interested, there's going to be like 25 teams interested. There's going to be very few teams that aren't interested.
And if they could keep DeJounte Murray too, that would be a really good trio.
Right. Now, depends on what they're going to have to give up. I believe KD will still have 2 years left on his deal, if memory serves me correct. So they're going to want something. But as long as you don't have to give up Trae Young to get him, because at that point it's not really a lateral move, but it's kind of like, well, what did we do that for, right? If I'm not going to be able to keep my stud to add a stud with him, what did I do that for? It's just like with the rumors of Lamar Jackson coming to the Falcons in a trade. Well, what do I have to give up to get him? Because if I have to give up a whole boatload of talent, I understand I'm going to have to give up draft picks, but if I have to give up some of the more talented players on my team, then what am I doing this for? Right. Anyways, interesting on the Kyrie front. Arizona Cardinals, what's your handicap right now? Where your heart of hearts, honest engine, none of this Sean Payton nonsense anymore. Heart of hearts, where do you think the Cardinals are going to hire that coach at?
I have no clue. I don't have a good read on it right now. They interviewed 3 new candidates this week. I think they're all in contention. Mike Kafka was one of them. Lou Anarumo was one of them. Brian Callahan. The last 2, they were both Bengals coordinators. And then Vance Joseph, his name keeps coming up about potentially getting promoted. Aaron Glenn, we interviewed him a couple weeks ago. His name's starting to resurface now. If I had to guess, it'll be one of those 5, but I can't get a good read on who it's going to be.
What you need, being a Gator fan, you need them to back the truck up and make a run after Kirby Smart, because that would help you both ways.
Look, I'm honest.
Cardinals, we get Kirby Smart out of the SEC East, because Billy Napier is going to do his best to just drive that Gator program off a cliff.
I'm scarred from hiring college coaches. I don't know if we should do that again.
You're trying to tell me you wouldn't be excited if Kirby Smart came to the Cardinals? You would. There's 2 reasons. You get him out of the SEC East.
I think it'd be better for the Gators than it would be for the Cardinals.
And you would say, what's the worst that could happen to Kingsbury? he can't be worse than Kingsbury.
Definitely can't be that. The
difference between Kirby Smart and Kingsbury is Kirby Smart not only has the 2 national championships, he had a winning record. Okay? And went on, they hired a college coach that couldn't get a winning record.
Yeah, that hire is still inexplicable, and there's no justification you could make for it. I know he coached some good quarterbacks in college, but he couldn't win with them. I don't know what Kingsbury – there was no excuse for him getting the job, and I'm shocked that another team in the Jets gave him it.
It's the same junk that FSU did with Willie Taggart. Fan base said, wait, what? Hold on, this guy, because we were like, oh yeah, he's coming from Oregon, and then you pull up his personal record, you're like, what the? What did we do?
For me though, my personal,
what's going on here, right?
Yeah, my personal number 1 for the Cardinals job though is Anaramo. I really like what he's done with the Bengals defense. It doesn't have a ton of talent, not nearly as much as the offense does. But he seems to put together a good game plan defensively every week, and the team loves him.
Coach, even though Kyler Murray is a mess.
Look, I just want a good leader, and I'm confident that Anaramo, with the connections he has, the Bengals staff could bring over a good offensive coordinator.
All right, well, that's fair. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more football and a little more college basketball. We got a big weekend of college basketball ahead. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country, Braves Country HD, wherever you stream.
I mean, it's not easy being me. When I was born, the doctor told my mother I did all I could, but he pulled through anyway.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Screen pass to Trayshawn DeAndre on the right side. Touchdown! But wait a second. I think there's a flag on the play.
All right, you guys got holding on number 97, right?
Yeah, definitely holding. No touchdown.
All right, make the call.
Yeah, I mean, it was holding.
So make the call.
Or, we say the flag was for an excessive celebration so they can keep the touchdown and apply the penalty to the kickoff, huh? What do you say?
What are you talking about? I didn't see excessive celebration.
You sure? Could have sworn I saw a little nay-nay going on.
What's going on with you, man?
All right, look, guys, I got to be real with you. Trayshawn DeAndre just scored that touchdown. Okay, I have him on my fantasy team this week. I need these points.
What? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you, Bill. I'm playing against my father-in-law this week, and if he doesn't score this touchdown, I lose.
Well, I'm not going to let you make a bad call because you're in some fantasy football league.
Make the call.
Craig, no. If you make one bad call...
This works out perfectly, Bill. I started the quarterback who threw the touchdown pass. We're going to have to ignore the holding call.
I have the kicker, and I was kind of hoping that he wouldn't convert on third down, so he'd have to kick the field goal.
Armchair. Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Learn more at sunny.org.
Are you okay, pal?
I had a rough day on the job.
Are you going home now?
I was about to.
Well then, you just fulfilled the first rule of law enforcement. Make sure when your shift is over, you go home alive.
Shula soon changed sunbathers into flag wavers as Miami earned instant success under his command. In 1970, Shula's first season as coach, a team that had won only 3 games the year before, won 10 and made the playoffs. In his second season, Miami won 12 and reached the Super Bowl. In 1972, Schuler's third year, the Dolphins were literally unstoppable, winning 17 straight, including Super Bowl VII.
Armchair.
Light it up and we smoke, keeping high up off the ground.
Welcome back. Watching the replay of the East-West Shrine game. Man, what a dull bunch of junk that was. It's 3-3 heading into the half. I think this game was played last night. I just have curious to see if there's any big plays. Guys, the East-West Shrine game, I've been watching that since I was a kid. It used to be a bigger thing. It used to come on Saturday afternoons, and it would be on a major network growing up as a kid. And it was usually late Saturday afternoon. I can remember watching it with my grandfather, my dad, and everything. And we were always looking to see if there were any, players that, that we recognize off of teams that either A, were pulling for, or B, that we played against. But now, this is one of the problems with the Shrine game is you'll see a helmet and you think you're looking at a guy from North Carolina, but it'll have 16 stickers all over his helmet. You're like, I don't know who that is. I saw a guy with the Gators across his helmet a second ago, but it was a garnet or crimson helmet. Like, so I was like, I don't know. So he got the sticker from someone in the game that went to Florida, right? And he put it on his helmet. But it confuses me even more. Like, well, who is this guy and where did he play?
Yeah, that's pretty strange. Well, speaking of Florida players, I think if I'm not mistaken, I saw something about Trey Dean. I think he might have won defensive MVP
at this game, at the Shrine game. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Senior Bowl. I believe that's Saturday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I know they've been doing the practice all week, and they usually do it the Saturday. I'll double check that, but it's they've kind of lost their luster because years and years ago, these all-star games guys were going in there to try to make a name for themselves. But what I see now is most of your studs aren't playing in any of these games, right? Mm-hmm. Because the last thing they want to do is get hurt. So they're really the outer crust of the players. And let me see. Yes, it does come on tomorrow afternoon. It's looks like it'll be 2:30 Eastern. So I always record them and then I'll go back and watch them, but I'm never locked into them because like tomorrow, which leads into this perfectly, there's a lot of good college basketball on tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to watch an exhibition when I can watch, guys actually trying to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
And of course, the name of the game is two things: A, who you betting on, and B, the bracketology. This time of the year, right before you get to the Super Bowl, I start opening up bracketology almost every day and start going, okay, what's the guy's name? Joe Lundy or something like that. Joe
Lunardi.
Lunardi, yeah. Joe Lunardi. I'm looking at the bracket watch right now, and the first team out, which this becomes very relevant, is Texas A&M, and they're playing the Georgia Bulldogs tomorrow. And the last team in is Oklahoma State. So on the bubble right now, what they're looking at, of course, this is according to Lunardi of ESPN. I know there's a million of them, but I go by one because if you're going to pay for a subscription, you might as well take advantage of all the stuff they give you. And the first four out, they've got A&M ranked at the top, then Florida, then OU, which OU just got a big win against Alabama last weekend, and Charleston. The next four out, Wisconsin, Seton Hall, Penn State, and Arizona State. The last four in, meaning if they lose, then they head to the other side of the seesaw. It's Kentucky, West Virginia, Nevada, and Oklahoma State.
Kentucky might be in trouble.
Yeah, well, they started off so slow and so sluggish. Now they've been playing better basketball of recent. Nevada has a big game tonight. They play Boise State. No. Hold on. I got it written here somewhere. I saw them on the Nevada. Is it Air Force that they're playing, or is Boise State playing Air Force? Let me double check that real quick. But Nevada's got a big game tonight. Of course, it'll be on late, so a lot of people won't stay up for it. But Nevada, I think they were an 11 point. Yeah, 11 point. Okay, they're the ones playing Air Force. Boise State is playing San Diego State, who's ranked number 22 in the country. But this is a big game for Nevada. So they're an 11-point favorite, and they need to keep winning or they're going to be in some big-time trouble.
And a loss to a team that you're an 11-point favorite against would definitely push them pretty far outside that bubble.
Yeah, and as far as the Georgia Bulldogs, they're on the outside looking in right now. They'd have to get hot. They're 4-5 in the conference. They're 15-7 overall. And they're 1-2 versus teams, 1 win, 2 losses versus teams in the top 25, which isn't shabby, but like a win against A&M tomorrow would be big for the Bulldogs. So they definitely need a big time game. And then when you look at some of the games that are going to be going down, so tonight, by the way, that San Diego State game I was talking about, that's at 9:00 on FS1, and they're playing Boise State. Now, Boise State's 18-5 and 8-2 in the Mountain West. San Diego State's 17-5 and 8-2 in the Mountain West. So it's a big matchup tonight. The difference being with San Diego State being a 5.5-point favorite, I think a lot of people are wondering why. Well, there's a consensus belief in the college basketball world that Boise State is a little overrated, but they'll have a chance to prove that tonight. That game is in San Diego. And as far as other games tonight that you may have your eye on, the Nevada game. Let me see if that game is I'm assuming that's on. No, it's actually on a cable network. It's on. So the Nevada game is 11:00 Eastern. It's on CBS Sports Network. So you don't have to have the plus to get that one. There was a pretty good game. Yeah, there it is. Well, that's not a good game. Never mind. I was looking at Eastern Michigan, Ball State, but Ball State's got a good team, and they host Eastern Michigan tonight. Most of your other games are on the plus. I think they're doing a lot of that. This is the NHL All-Star Weekend, right? So they're doing all the games and stuff. To that point, have you watched any of this of the NFL
Pro Bowl
games? I don't know. I don't know what they're calling it.
I haven't watched any of it. In fact, I didn't even know it started last night. The marketing, they didn't do much work marketing that, because as much as I keep up with the NFL, I had no idea it was even starting last night.
Yeah, that you bring up a good point. As much as they try to throw junk down your throat, I really didn't know it was on until someone mentioned it late yesterday. And I flipped over there for about 20 seconds. I was like, what is this junk? And I changed it. And I did see a funny video. They were playing dodgeball. Did you see this with Saquon Barkley?
I saw him get hit in the face. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah. And I'm thinking myself, so they quit playing tackle football with these guys in the Pro Bowl because they said they're worried about player safety and the concussions, et cetera. And then they're letting Barkley get smoked in the grill by a volleyball that looked like it was going about 100 miles an hour as he's heading to free agency. Now, what kind of sense does this make?
Giants must have paid someone to bring his price down a little bit, because he got drilled with that.
He got smoked. All I see, open up my TikTok, and all I see is the little caption that says something to the effect of Saquon Barkley hitting the head with it. And I'm thinking it's just going to like ricochet off his head. And I don't even know who threw it. But whoever it was, man, he wound up and he absolutely, I mean, that dude's got a hose on him. I don't think it was a quarterback. So whoever that was, if it doesn't work out for him in the NFL, there's going to be some Major League Baseball teams seeing if he can possibly be a little bullpen help. What was funny on it too is that it kind of knuckled at the end. So even if you thought, I bet you Barkley thought he was going to miss him, but it veered off at the last head, bam, face.
And he turned around when he got hit too. He's like, "Ooh, it looks a little lost."
I've been hit in the face a few times with other things, and I could feel his pain. I was like, "Ooh, good. Ooh, mercy, tap out on that, buddy."
Especially dodgeball; those can hurt sometimes.
There's some pretty cruddy games on tonight, but tomorrow there is some pretty interesting college basketball action. What games have your eye?
I'm looking at Purdue against Indiana. Purdue's the number 1 team in the country right now. They're only a 1.5 point favorite though against Indiana because they're playing on the road. It's a big Big 12 game, Big 10 game. Sorry, against 2 ranked teams, so that'll be fun to watch. And then another one I'm looking at is Texas versus K-State. They're both 18-4 Big 12 teams, and Keontae Johnson actually he plays for K-State now.
Well, I'll tell you what. Spoiler alert: unless that line drastically changes, that'll be my lock tomorrow. Purdue's going to pound Indiana.
Yeah.
Their defense is unreal.
Yeah. Yeah, they've looked great this year. Their only loss came at home too, and it was against Rutgers.
You're not going to be. It's impossible to be perfect in basketball. It really is. You're asking
in regular season.
You're asking young kids, 19, 20, 21 years old, to be that focused every single game. It's going to happen. But and look, Indiana's not a slouch, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to handle them on the boards.
Yeah,
they pounded the stew out of Penn State the other night. I hit that for a chicken dinner. I saw the line; it was like 9, and it was a part of a teaser I did. So it took the line down to 3, and by 10, 15 minutes in the game, I was like, "This is over, man! This is over." It's coasting.
Cohen's ain't gonna be happy about that one.
The games that I have my eye on. I mean, look, I like the top 25 action, but I'm more of an SEC ACC guy. That Tennessee Auburn game at 2:00. I just wish they didn't have it in the middle of the afternoon. It kind of stinks that it's at 2:00. I wish it was later, much later, in either late afternoon or early evening on a Saturday, so you can get some stuff done. And then where's it go? There it is, 8:30, Florida, Kentucky. 2 teams on the bubble. It's in Rupp Arena. Now, when these 2 teams are really good, that's a fun rivalry. They don't stink this year, but they're not upper echelon like they are sometimes. And that I'm telling you that Georgia Texas A&M game, Texas A&M better watch out. Georgia is, they've struggled on the road, but they've got the ability to pull off the upset, and A&M's got to get that win. They have got to get that win. The Alabama at LSU has no vibe for me. I feel like Alabama's going to roll all over them.
Yeah.
And ACC action tomorrow, we've got a couple of interesting ones. First of all, number 6, Virginia at Virginia Tech. It's got the rivalry aspect of it. And Virginia Tech, though they're 3-8 in the ACC and 13-9 overall, they're actually better than their record. They will come up and they will bite people in the butt, and Virginia better come ready for that game.
Especially the rivalry game.
Florida State's at Louisville. The only people watching that is going to be some kind of hostage situation. It still cracks me up, and I know it's because of injuries and suspensions, but it's funny how Florida State's had a competitive ACC record, but their overall record's 7-16. And if you go in and you look at the games they've lost early in the year, like who they lost? I mean, have you taken a look at this?
I haven't, no, but the early games in the season are usually the freebies.
They got blown out by Central Florida. They got handled by Troy.
Oh.
They beat Mercer, but barely covered the spread. They got smoked by Siena in Tallahassee.
That's inexcusable.
They lost to Stanford by 10. This is not a good Stanford team, although they did win me some money last night. Nebraska. Roasted by Nebraska in Tallahassee. Well,
That's
they lost
bad.
by almost 20. And then here's the part where it doesn't make sense. Then they start getting guys back. Number 5 Purdue. They actually only lost by 10. I thought they were going to get smoked in that game. I was like, here we go. Purdue is just going to put the throttle down. This was back-to-back games. Then they go up at number 3 Virginia. I think there was 2 days in between the games. They only lost by 5, and that game was right down to the wire. But
Well,
then
they're keeping the big ACC games competitive.
Blown out. I mean, they're just up and down, up and down, up and down.
Ugh.
They got smoked by Miami. Miami's good this year, but not that good.
Yeah, and that sucks because they've had some good players come through the program. So
it is not going well because of injuries. Like I said, they've got 5 guys out for the year with the injury, and they got 1 guy that just came back from a suspension. But unless you win the ACC tournament, none of this is going to do you any good.
No.
You're not even going to go to the NIT.
No.
You're going to lose record. So you got to be a special kind of crazy to watch that game. At 2:00, I'll be watching Tennessee Auburn. I'll probably have Florida State on the background somewhere, but I'm not watching that game. Louisville's 3-19 and a 1-10 record.
That's bad. That's another team that fell from grace. Wow.
The name of Denny Crum is going on around there. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, Tone should be joining us, and we're going to do the cool games and give you our locks. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. Come on, baby. It's Friday. You got to be excited about that. Huh? Come on, Friday. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon. And this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Duke's women's college basketball coach, Carol Lawson, said the teams played with the men's basketball for the first half of a loss to Florida State on Sunday. The 16th-ranked Blue Devils lost to FSU in a landslide in Tallahassee, and she's blaming the ball. After her Duke team beat Pittsburgh on Thursday, Lawson ended her news conference by stating, quote, "This would never happen in a men's game. This would never happen. It's embarrassing for our sport. The circumference of a women's ball is about an inch smaller than a men's ball and is typically 2 ounces lighter." Lawson said that throughout the first half, Duke players were complaining about the ball, and it was addressed at halftime. The ACC released a statement saying, "We have concluded throughout our investigation that it was not a men's ball." The conference in Florida State is standing by that statement. Cincinnati Bengals running back Joe Mixon has been issued an arrest warrant for misdemeanor aggravated menacing, according to court records. The complaint was filed Thursday in Ohio's Hamilton County. The Bengals said they were aware of the charges against Mixon. According to the warrant, Mixon allegedly pointed a gun at an individual January 21st and said the person should be popped in the face, unquote. The warrant states the incident occurred on the intersection of Walnut Street and East 3rd Street in downtown Cincinnati, one day before the Bengals defeated the Bills in the divisional round of the AFC playoffs. In 2014, Joe Mixon was charged with misdemeanor assault for punching a woman. At the time, Mixon was a running back at the University of Oklahoma. He alleged he was called a racial slur, which prompted him to use an anti-gay slur before the assault occurred. Mixon was drafted by the Bengals in the second round of the 2017 NFL Draft and signed a 4-year extension in 2020. Light night for big-time college basketball, but you do have number 22 San Diego State, who's 17-5 on the year and 8-2 in the Mountain West. They're giving up 5.5 points to 18-5 and 8-2 Boise State. That game is at 9 p.m. Eastern on FS1. And in the NBA on national television, NBA TV, the Phoenix Suns are at the Celtics. Boston giving up 9 over under 220. The Hawks, 9 p.m. Eastern at Utah. Utah favored by 1.5, over under 241. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com/Braves Country.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neal, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Can you keep a secret? Of course I can. I lost all our money today betting on sports. Damn. I know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Can I tell you a secret? Sure, yeah. I lied. I can't keep secrets. Wait, what?
Armchair.
Welcome back. Tampa Tones joining us here in the second hour. And I guess I should turn my camera on. And I'll tell you what, today we all look like that we're going in either for an interrogation or an interview. None of us have ball caps on and hair is combed. TGI Friday, baby! How are you, Tones?
Good, brother. I'm in the Sunshine State. Always a good time in here in the state of Florida. So that's why I got my hair looking a little better. No cap on quite. Me and the lady got dinner tonight. But I was
about to say, your girl pointed at you and said, comb your hair.
Yep. She giving me that look still.
What's wrong with you? Comb your hair. What's wrong with you?
Enough hat here for now.
Oh, man. We've got the weekend before the weekend, right? So you're going on a cruise, right?
Correct. Tomorrow we leave on that. So I'm in Orlando for the day before.
Where are y'all going?
We're going to Eastern Caribbean, Tortola, U.S. British Virgin Islands, and then we're going to St. Thomas, and then we're going to Castaway Cay, which is in the Bahamas.
Wow, the Caribbean series. I had that on a little bit ago. I ended up changing it to put it on the Senior Bowl. I'm telling you right now, I'm going back to the Caribbean series because it's higher scoring. That Senior Bowl is, it is plumb garbage, man. I've got that recorded from last night. We were talking about this earlier, Tones. Did you watch any of the Pro Bowl stuff? I don't even know what they're billing it or how they're trying to sell it.
Yeah, it was interesting. When I was at the airport, I was watching the longest drive competition. I believe it was the golf. And then I watched a little bit of the quarterback throwing competition. And let me tell you, Derek Carr took that as an audition, it seemed. He was on fire last night. But it was interesting, to say the least. I'm not sure if I liked it more or liked it less, but it was interesting.
The only thing that I saw was Barkley get smoked in the face with the dodgeball, and then there was a video that was being circulated today by one of the NFL writers showing the robot that was designed to be the wide receiver in one of the competitions, and that how this robot, I guess it's got some kind of AI, it can slow up and slow down and speed up depending on the ball. They said that, man, but I watched a couple of the videos, and like they showed Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball, and a couple of passes that he threw that weren't right on target. That robot just kept going, and then it would slam on the brakes. I was like, it would slam on the brakes like well after the ball's hit the ground. I'm Like, all right, I mean, could I design better? No. But if you're going to get my attention retweeting something, let's get it together. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Sounds like former Bucks receiver Tyler Johnson right there.
Well, yeah, it's not just fair enough, but I'm just sitting there thinking like the way the preview to the video looked and sounded, you thought you were about to see some amazing stuff. And instead I couldn't tell the difference between that and what was the movie back in the day in the 80s with the robot. God bless. I'll think of it in a second. Short Circuit. It looked like Short Circuit out there, just bebop, bop, bop, bop. I was like, there's nothing spectacular about this thing.
E.T. Phone Home.
Yeah, Short Circuit. That's probably a little bit before y'all's time, but I guarantee there's a GIF of Short Circuit somewhere. All right, let's get into it's that time of week to talk about cool games. Now, usually we got football games to talk about. And sometimes, in the near future, we're going to have some basketball playoffs, and we're going to have, Major League Baseball, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many games going on this weekend, and none of them really jump out to me. So instead of me picking games and y'all voting on them this time, I told y'all to come up with 2 cool games apiece. And I'm curious to see if anyone had the same ones. And before this starts, wrestling in any form of UFC is never going to count as a cool game because it's got to be a game. It can't be an event. It's got to be a game. So before we start with that, Bobby, we'll start with you. Give me your first cool game.
My first cool game, I'm going to the NBA with this one. It's one of the Saturday games. I've got Mavs versus Warriors. It's 2 teams sitting right above 500. The Mavs are right above 500. The Warriors are right at it. So it could have some playoff implications later down the line. If Curry's healthy, ready to go, we'll see Luka versus Curry. So that should be a fun matchup. So we could be in for an entertaining game.
I knew that game was going to get picked. I had a feeling Bobby was going to be the one that picks it. Tones, give me a cool game.
We mentioned it in the commercial briefly, or in the scoreboard update, I should say. I think Phoenix-Boston's a cool game tonight. I know Phoenix hasn't been playing up to par. They're getting 9 points and whatnot, but this is a potential not only playoff preview, but if the Suns get it together, championship preview, let's say. So a lot of talent on the court tonight in that one.
See, the only pushback that I'll have on any of these games y'all have mentioned so far is, do we know all the starters are going to start? And that's what always throws me off with picking NBA, with being cool games.
Mm-hmm.
Once the playoffs start, I get it. Or the game means something at the end. But my first one that I went with, I went with Florida, Kentucky. It's an 8:30 tip-off. It's ESPN Saturday night. And that game has a lot of implications on the winner, then kind of gets a foothold in on the bubble, and the loser is going to be on the outside looking in. So I think that's a cool game. And anytime you get Florida, Kentucky, it's a good rivalry. It's Rupp Arena. Place is going to be going bananas. I haven't had a chance to watch any of the really good rivalries yet. I've caught some college basketball in the last few weeks, but I haven't gotten one. There hasn't been a game that I've been this excited about, so I'm looking forward to that one. Bobby, what's your next cool game?
Now I'm heading back over to college basketball. I'm going to go with Texas and K-State. I had mentioned it earlier, but it's 2 teams with the exact same record, a Big 12 game. Could have a lot of implications with the Big 12 tournament whenever that comes around. It's Texas versus K-State, and it's got a player I like, Keontae Johnson. Always going to root for him. He's playing for K-State. So that's my
What time is that game?
That is Saturday. Let me pull up the time real quick. Only had the day written down. It is, let's see. I'm having trouble finding it here.
That's all right. I'll find it. I thought you knew off the top of your head since you said you're going to watch it.
I'll figure it out when the time comes. I'll figure it out tomorrow.
4 o'clock ESPN 2. I saw it when I was prepping for it. I have a hard time getting fired up about Big 12 games, but yeah, I mean, it is a good matchup. 2 teams who are 7-2. Man, once again, I swear, Texas, it doesn't matter what sport they play. I've got to see it to believe it. Every time I get excited about, oh man, Texas has a pretty good team, and then I'll sit down to watch the game, or I'll put a few bucks on them or something, and then the score will flash across, and like the Tennessee game. Now I took Tennessee when they played Tennessee a few weeks back because I just like, this is Texas. Texas is going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, Tennessee blew their doors off.
Yeah.
What was their other? This is a rematch, by the way. Kansas State, Texas. Texas lost the first game by 13 in Austin. So that'll be, and that game wasn't too long ago either. So, Tones, what is your second cool game of the weekend?
Tomorrow, noon tip-off, 12 o'clock. Iowa State home against Kansas. It's a pick-em in that one. Kansas was the number one ranked team for a little bit at the beginning of the year. So we'll see if they could come back and try and reclaim the top spot down the road or keep playing good basketball. But Big 12, I know it's Big 12, but to me, that's a good battle we got on our hands. That's tomorrow at noon in a pick-em.
It's an interesting one. Iowa State's undefeated at home. So something's got to give there. Kansas is obviously always the front runner in that conference to win it. They're undefeated. The only reason why I wouldn't have picked that one is it's not even the Big 12 thing. It's like, what noon? You don't play this game at noon?
Mm-hmm.
What's the Big 12 constantly playing their big games at noon? Football, basketball. They got curfew out there or something I don't know about.
Oh man!
It just seems like ESPN could have made this the 6 o'clock game, or really they should have made it the 8:30 game and had the the Kentucky Florida game lead into it.
I agree.
My second cool game of the weekend is got to be Tennessee versus Auburn. I really would prefer it if it wasn't being played at 2 o'clock Eastern. I mean, that's a dud. But I am excited to watch that game because it's number 2 versus number 25. Tennessee, number 2 in the country. They just lost to Florida, and it wasn't particularly close. What was it, 67-54? And I watched quite a bit of that game. And there was a part where when Tennessee made a run after falling down by a bunch where you thought maybe we're going to get a great game down the stretch. And then Castleton from Florida just had a big second half, and that put a stop to all that. But that game, 2 o'clock. So if you're wanting to build your day around some SEC basketball, 2 o'clock is the way we've built it, and we didn't do any kind of coercion prior to this. Tones' noon tip-off with Kansas State. With Kansas. That I gave you Tennessee and Auburn at 2. Then at 4 o'clock, Bobby's other Big 12 matchup. And then the 2 8:30 games, Florida, Kentucky, and then also the NBA game, the Mavs.
We're mapping it all out for the people.
And then, of course, tonight you'd get it started off with Celtics versus Suns. But I'm telling you, if it's anything like I turned it over Celtics Nets the other night, and they just started blowing their doors off, and I guarantee it was around middle of the first quarter. Kyrie said, "I want to be traded."
When he made it this month.
But again, at one point it was 33-7 in the first quarter. I was like, "Well, this is a dud." No Kyrie, KD, and if it's anything like that, and you never know, because some of these teams, you would think that the big teams would start their big players against big matches, but they don't tend to do that. They'll say, you know what, we'll just take an L tonight. We'll let the young guys get out there, and in a few days, when we're at home against the Orlando Magic, we'll put our starters out that day.
That happened the other night. The Clippers were on the road playing a back-to-back against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Bulls. They rested all their star power against Cleveland. Then they put it all out there against the Bulls and ended up coming back on the Bulls and won. So as a Bulls fan, it's like, oh, you couldn't have saved them for us. You couldn't have sat your starters on the night against us.
But that just goes to show that the NBA is flawed. They got to fix it. You either got to get rid of. You have to have one or two things happen. you either have to eliminate a bunch of games off the schedule to make every game much more important. And I don't think fans would care if you jacked up the prices per game, but you had much less games. If you told a fan that they only had to go to 25 games a year, go to 50 games a year, they'd probably be somewhat thrilled, even if the price went up quite a bit. Because that's what, 16 more times that you don't have to get in the car and drive down to the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they either have to do that, or the only other solution around this would to have the season last much longer and have the games much more spread out.
Mm-hmm.
Because these back-to-backs, it's a given. You see a back-to-back in 3 games in 4 days or anything like that, you're like, at least one of those games they're going to be doing load management.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to continue to load manage as a fan. I'm just going to I'm saving myself up for playoffs. I want to rest up like y'all are. So I'm not going to watch any of your junk here in the middle of February. I'm resting up for June.
Oh, that's a good one. Hey, for real though, if they're doing it, why not?
I'm trying to, I don't want to get burned out. I'm like KYRIE, man. I'm asking for a trade. I want to be traded over to XFL viewership for the next 2 weeks.
Or USFL, arena football. They just came back with that. So many second
It's
leagues.
funny. Since we've been doing this show for about 10 years, I know everyone probably thinks that I got this vendetta against the NBA. What they don't understand is that I grew up a diehard Celtics/NBA fan. And they lost me around 10 to 15 years ago. And there's a lot of things, but the number one thing was the load management junk. I was like, you used to get excited on Sunday afternoon when you saw it was Celtics, Lakers, let's go. Middle of January, you didn't care. It meant something.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Kobe Bryant. It was game on.
Now it's more like, oh, Celtics and Lakers are playing. Wonder what time. Oh, my bad. That was last night. I didn't even pay attention.
LeBron is on the bench for load management.
I bought the NBA League Pass years ago. I did it one time. I saw so many games where the guys weren't coming to the play. I'm like, I'm done with this. Why am I doing that?
Not worth watching.
Bobby, what is your lock of the week?
My lock, you had actually mentioned it earlier, and I have it written down. When I saw Purdue was a 1.5 point favorite, I thought that was easy money against Indiana. I know it's a road game, but that should be a gimme. The number 1 team in the country. I think Purdue is going to go in there and win and do it by at least 2 points. So give me Purdue minus 1.5.
All right, brother. Well, we will see you next week. Enjoy your weekend. And Toes and I will be back in a flash. We're going to give our locks here on the other side of the break, and we're going to get into what is going on in the NFC South. They need about 4 quarterbacks in that division. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country.
Been all over the world. Beat them all. And it's hard to believe, isn't it? Really hard to believe that so much man could be wrapped in such a good-looking package.
Hockey season, and that means new merch over at ourdragonsmerch.com. Get the latest designs and some of our fun new souvenirs ahead of what's sure to be a great hockey season. Celebrate another season of River Dragons hockey by getting a new look to wear on game days, or surprise the big-time sports fan in your life with a new keepsake that will make them a River Dragons fan for life. Order online right now at ourdragonsmerch.com. That's the letter R, dragonsmerch.com. We'll see you at the rink.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. Little Bites? That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute? I love Little Bites. I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay? Got it. As I was saying, whenever I bring home you-know-what, you-know-who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high-fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious. I love Little Bites. Here you go. Yes.
Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. The perfect portion of happiness.
Hi, this is Britney Spears.
What up, this Jay-Z.
This is Jennifer Lopez. Armchair.
Broken pretzels in the rug. The beer cans could be worse. She'll clean it up tomorrow and dread September 1st.
Welcome back.
Well, the season's finally here, and the players.
We are taking you all the way to the top of the 5 o'clock hour. First Name Sports on Sports Map Radio take over. And remember to get your weekday started here on the Key 99.1 FM. Ryan O Radio Penitentiary, 7 to 10 a.m. Rod Peterson Show from noon to 2. Sports Beat, 12 to 3. And then we're here, Braves Country, 3 to 5, Monday through Friday. A TGI Friday. Got a couple of things that we're going to be doing here in a second that a little different than what we've done before. Should have some fun here. Want to try to loosen up the show on a Friday. Tones, before I forget, what is your lock of the day?
Got Pistons at home tonight, minus half a point against the Hornets. It's a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off tonight.
Have you seen anything as far as their injuries or anything like that?
I mean, their main young guy, he is out for the season. But as far as everybody should be playing tonight, Sadiq Bey and all those guys, I didn't see anything on their injury report about any scares or whatnot of unexpected people, that is.
Of course, for folks who may or may not have be new to NBA betting, what you want to make sure of, because the NBA is the worst about this, check the injury reports. And usually Twitter's the best tool for it, but check the injury reports about a half hour before tip-off, before you actually lay it down.
Mm-hmm. I hear you on that, because these spreads change like crazy in the NBA too. One guy goes down who you don't expect. Next thing you know, you go from getting 4 to giving 3 or something like that.
I am going to go to the hardwood, but in college basketball, where I feel much more confident as far as guys showing up and whatnot, and see what time this game tips off. I think it's an early game, if memory serves. It is. It is a 6 p.m., and it is on ESPN+. Give me Brown over Dartmouth. Brown, I'm going to go ahead and grab the money line because it's only minus 125. Brown has been a pretty good team, in Dartmouth. They are going to get killed on the boards tonight, and I expect Brown, who has had their way with Dartmouth in the past, and they've kind of taken their foot off the gas. Give me Dartmouth. Give me Brown. They're on the road, but that's usually not a big deal in Ivy League play. So I'll take Brown and minus 125 on the money line. And away we go with that. All right. Let's talk about this NFC South. That right now, if the season started tomorrow, your starting quarterbacks would be Kyle Trask, Sam Darnold, maybe Andy Dalton, even though he's a free agent, and Ritter, who right now in the clubhouse would be the best quarterback in the division. What is going to go on with this? First of all, let's address your BUCS, and then we'll go from there.
Oh boy, a lot of questions, a little answers to answer right now. And as you alluded to, the only quarterback under contract for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it isn't Blaine Gabbert, longtime backup. It isn't Tom Brady, Super Bowl champion. It isn't Ryan Griffin, who's been here for 8 seasons. Now it's Kyle Trask, who's only gotten a handful of snaps in a meaningless game last season against an Atlanta Falcons team. So you really wonder what direction the Bucs will go in here. They find themselves down but not out of the NFC South because, as you alluded to, all the quarterback troubles, all the quarterback problems. The division's wide open right now, and now you're going to have to look at it like this. Are the Buccaneers going to tell Todd Bowles, hey, Todd, you're going to be back for a third year no matter what? We wouldn't mind if you lose a couple of games next season, you roll Kyle Trask out there and you go that route, or you go, hey, I'm Todd Bowles. If I get fired from this job, I'm probably not going to get another head coaching job. So let me try and go field the best veteran available. Right now, I look at the Bucs and I see a realistic possibility of a quarterback room next year featuring Kyle Trask, probably re-sign Ryan Griffin for extremely cheap to keep continuity going. And then they'll probably bring in a guy like a Sam Darnold or a Taylor Heineke. And I say Sam Darnold because Todd Bowles actually drafted Sam Darnold when he was the head coach of the Jets before he got fired after a year of coaching Darnold.
Well, that led to his first firing. What's he going to do? Repeat the cycle?
Well, it's just the Bucs are in such a hard spot because if you want to trade for a guy, you know, you're around minus 35 million against the cap right now. If you trade for someone, surely you're going to have to release veterans already. But if you trade for a quarterback such as a Derek Carr, you're going to have to even release more veterans. And so personally, I don't even want to go the Sam Darnold route. I would start Kyle Trask this year and see whatever happens, as he was a second round pick. Not that he looks promising, but hey, if you get the first pick of the draft next year, you're looking at a Drake May or Caleb Williams, perhaps.
So the biggest question to me is not what Todd Bowles wants to do. It's what the front office wants to do. Because if the front office feels comfortable that they're not going anywhere, they could leave Todd Bowles out to dry, right? And they could go exactly what you're saying. Just give Kyle Trask a chance, see what he's got. Maybe he's got something. Maybe he's not even what you want to do long term, but maybe you can build some kind of draft capital for him. It's really going to come down to what they have. I'll put it to you this way. They're not going to make a coaching change this year, but could they be possibly eyeing a new coach for next year? And they're going, you know what? Todd Bowles is going to have to take one on the chin. Now, I'm not saying Todd's not going to go out there and try to win, but you can only win with what you're given. And if they don't make a serious play for like a Derek Carr, I don't think Aaron Rodgers, because it's NFC, and I don't think the Packers would make that trade. I also don't believe Aaron Rodgers wants to go follow in the footsteps of Tom Brady either, right?
Correct.
I think he wants to go out and blaze his own trail. So if they don't go, what's most likely, the two best options would be Derek Carr or some insane package to go get Lamar Jackson. But then you're going to have to, I think in that package, you would include some receivers to head the other direction so that the way they're constructed, Tampa Bay, if they went out after Lamar Jackson, you'd almost want to get rid of, I'm assuming Godwin and Evans are still under contract, right?
Correct. Evans has one more season left after this next one, and Godwin has 2 more years left.
So you'd almost have to put some kind of package together to send those 2 receivers north and give me Lamar Jackson and either A, they would want a Dobbins, or B, it's probably more realistic to have Andrews a part of the trade, because you have to change your entire. The problem with going out and getting Lamar Jackson, you have to change your entire roster. You can't have a bunch of guys out there who are used to. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are not going to be happy in a Lamar Jackson offense. They're going to be ticked off. The 2 of them will combine for maybe 100 catches. right?
Yeah, and then you need to go out and get a fullback. You would need to beef up the O-line. You're right. You'd have to change it completely.
You'd almost have to swap rosters. The team that makes more sense to me to bring in Lamar Jackson is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons make a trade to bring him in, and I guess you'd probably send Ritter as a part of the package so that the Ravens could see what they had with him. But at the same token, you wouldn't have to make a big move for the tight end because you got Kyle Pitts. I think Cordell Patterson would be phenomenal along with Algier in an offense that featured Lamar Jackson. And that's who I have as the favorite to land Lamar Jackson, because just like what we just talked about, is Baltimore going to trade Lamar Jackson to the AFC? I don't think they are.
And don't forget, the Ravens have a Pro Bowl quarterback. Just kidding. Snoop Huntley somehow got into the Pro Bowl. That just shows how watered down it is. But I like the Falcons, or I like the Commanders if I had to choose a landing spot for him. I think he ultimately gets franchise tag, though.
I could see the Commanders as well, NFC team. I mean, honestly, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'd want to come play for the Falcons. I wouldn't want anything to do with the Commanders. Not just because of their ownership and the craziness that just tends to go on with that, but also Ron Rivera to me is he's one of these retreads in the NFL, these coaches that don't win a whole lot, but somehow he continues to kind of chug along, because that one time at band camp where he had a good team and he got him to the Super Bowl, but since then, Ron Rivera has not really had that great of a resume.
Definition of mediocre.
Yeah, he had Cam Newton in his prime, and he had a phenomenal defense led by Kuechly and company. But since then, he tailed off into Carolina. He's done nothing in Washington. Only thing he's done in Washington is repeatedly put the wrong quarterback behind center
and give up assets for that quarterback.
Yeah. So I really do. That's why I like Lamar. I've been saying this for a while, but I like Lamar Jackson to Atlanta and Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, and Derek Carr. I think he would rather go to Tampa because you got more toys there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what Tampa believes in him, and if they don't, then I kind of see him going to Carolina.
I agree with that. I think if he would choose between the two, I think he'd prefer Tampa. If Tampa pivots on him, I like Carolina for a landing spot for Derek Carr. Boy, I hope we don't add Carr and Lamar to our division, because that'd be tough sledding for us. But hey, very realistic possibilities all around.
Well, the only good thing is it might improve your chances to get the number 1 overall pick next year.
True.
Tanking for Caleb.
Yeah, and that's just the thing. The Bucs can never seem to I mean, it's obviously not Caleb Williams' fault, but the Bucs just never seem to do it right on the first-round quarterback pick. Josh Freeman, Jameis Winston. It's just Vinny Testaverde. We just can't do it right.
Steve Young.
And we got rid of him too early.
Well, that wasn't Tampa's fault. He didn't want to play for Tampa.
Can't blame him back in that day.
He essentially, everyone forgets it, but he essentially did the same thing that it was a little more dragged out, but he did the same thing that John Elway did, which was asked to be let go of Tampa. That's the whole reason why Bo Jackson ended up with the Raiders, because he refused to play for Tampa.
It was like that back then in the Ray Perkins era, when we were doing 2-a-days, blacked out on television in the Tampa area. It was few and far in between to bring in good wide receivers, good weapons, or draft good
Nobody
people.
wanted to play for. I mean, every time they would get a good pick, they go, I don't want to go there.
Correct.
So, that's the one thing for people to forget about, is that though it's the NBA that dominates the headlines with it now, the National Football League started the prima donna, I don't want to play for that team.
And a lot of it happened to be with the Bucs. Not a lot of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, it did. because I was living down in this area at the time. I was like, man, they're never going to turn it around.
The Yucks, we were called forever. The Yucks.
Cody Dungy coming in. That's one of the reasons why they went after a defensive head coach back in the days, because they wanted to build on defense, because they realized, like, dude, we're never going to get anyone come in here.
Even when Warren Sapp was drafted by us, he literally said in his mind, and he dropped in the draft, remember, a little bit off the field troubles, but when Warren Sapp was drafted by the BUCS, he literally goes, oh man, I just got drafted by the Yucks. And he said he looked around and felt a little nauseous at first, but hey, ended up with a Hall of Fame career. So I think it turned out all right.
It's a little different than what it is now. See, back then, the reason why you don't get it as much in the NFL now is because back then people were starting to realize they could make money off their likeness in the National Football League off of commercials. And Bo Jackson figured, along with Steve Young and John Elway, we'll put him in that same category. They figured they could make more money at getting advertising dollars if they weren't playing at said franchise. So that's why they didn't want to come to Tampa. That's why they didn't want to go to Baltimore. Nowadays, it's no longer the case for pretty much every sport, but mainly the National Football League. All the games are televised. NFL is king. You can make bukus of money in Kansas City, Missouri, just as much as you can do it in New York City.
And I think, speaking of New York, I think the last time we've seen that was when Eli Manning was drafted by the Chargers and then refused to do that and then got traded to New York a couple hours later.
And that really had more to do with his dad not liking the Chargers organization and their higher ups.
Yeah, you're right there. You are right.
But that was another one. And I remember at the beginning of his career, I didn't like him because I don't like any of these prima donnas that say, I don't want to go play for you. I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. It's a privilege to play for any of these organizations.
You're in the NFL.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some happy hour stuff. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. Braves Country, weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, 99.1 FM The Key, your first choice for Southern sports talk.
Max, a woman in my section wants to know if we do anything gluten-free. What do I tell her? Tell her she's not allergic to gluten. She's just masking an eating disorder.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, Braves fans. Thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, wah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You're listening to Braves Country. Weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m. on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. Please like and subscribe today. YouTube.com/@BravesCountry.
Is this the suicide talk or the nickname talk?
The nickname. George, what is that? It's nothing. It's got no snap, no zip. I need a nickname that makes people light up.
You mean like Rise Up?
T-Bone.
But there's no T in your name. What about G-Bone?
There's no G-Bone.
There's a G-Spot.
That's a myth.
T-Bone, the ladies are gonna love you.
Welcome back. Where does your boat takes off tomorrow?
Yes, sir, tomorrow.
What time?
It's about, I have to be there 11:45 a.m. It takes off around 2 p.m.
Oh, that's actually not bad. We had to be there pretty early from what I remember. Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. They drop you off really early. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. They drop you off really early.
I think they drop you off, they say 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that, but they start pushing you out before then.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, but I didn't get internet out there last time. So hey, if I go miss it on Twitter or something like that for a week, it's not because I went overboard. It's just because my phone isn't seemingly picking up signal.
When was the last time that you went on a cruise?
In May, we did the Western Caribbean. It went Mexico, Grand Cayman, Bahamas, and Jamaica. That one was a lot of fun too. So we're cruise people. We enjoy it.
We went right before the pandemic and got off the boat literally like a week or two before they shut all of them down. We were one of the last boats that they allowed to come in back off the high seas.
Where did you port out of?
I want to say Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was around the Tampa area.
Probably either there or Port Canaveral, probably.
I'm trying to remember. It might have actually been closer to Cocoa Beach. I can't remember, but no. It would have been on the left coast because we ended up going to Mexico.
Mm.
So I want to say Tampa. If it wasn't Tampa, it was right outside Tampa. It was right in that area.
Right.
But now that I remember it correctly, it was it was like mid to late afternoon that we got on the boat, but then they kicked us off really early.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. That last day, they don't waste time. They get you out of there.
All right. Do a couple of things, little cheers and jeers for this week. Before we do that, I do want to do a Florida man for you here. So we haven't done Florida man in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean a long time. I think the last time we did that was way back when we were on the St. Augustine station, and Doug and I used to do it. So I was going through my notes. I was like, man, we don't do Florida man anymore. That's a little ridiculous. We used to always finish the Friday show off Florida man. So here we go. We're gonna bring this back in. Here's some Florida man. And if you're looking at the screen, see, now this comes from the Miami Sun Herald, and evidently Ferrari store in Dade County. Now they said nobody was hurt, but the car got about halfway through the elevator, and then the actual elevator collapsed.
Oh.
Now I don't know how. Now what's left out in the story is whether or not someone was originally in that car and they just happened to be okay. But for folks that can't see it on screen, this Ferrari, and it's a Roma, so it's a $250,000 car, is upside right, like its nose is sticking straight in the air. And God bless. So they don't go into detail on what the actual faulty system of it was. It just said the crash happened while a customer was taking their car to the third floor. Scary day, et cetera, et cetera. The quotes, everyone was okay, but the shaft just collapsed. I guess this elevator has always been okay before. They've moved these cars up and down onto the showroom, but this day, I guess this happened early this morning. It was upside down, 45-foot boom, and it said about 50,000 pounds of pressure when it hit the ground.
Could you imagine seeing not only your car free falling like that, but a beautiful car such as that, just so much weight to the ground?
It's a miracle nobody was hurt. An absolute
real.
miracle.
Nothing good could have came
It'd
out
be a
of that.
miracle if nobody gets fired over this because $250,000, dude, someone's head's got to roll.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And all that damage as well to, probably at least the elevator and the building itself on top of the vehicle.
I know they're going to have some kind of insurance, but you're going to take some kind of hit on this. I'm sorry, it was Palm Beach County.
Palm Beach. Makes sense where the shoe fits.
Yeah. So.
I love these Florida games, though. One of my local stations does Florida or Ohio, where they read a story, and you got to pick if the story's from Florida or Ohio. Never disappointed. Florida's great.
Florida man is always undefeated.
Yeah.
Cheers and jeers this week. I mean, the first jeer I have to give out to is this Josh Sills. The strangest part about this story, though, for folks that haven't caught this, Josh Sills, offensive lineman for the Eagles, has been put on suspension by the NFL. Oh, what's the term they use for that? The
unrestricted list.
Yeah, so he's getting paid, but he's not allowed to play. He's a second string offensive lineman for the Eagles, but he is a big deal because they got some guys banged up and he was expected to play quite a bit. But he's being accused of sexual assault is the cleanest way that we can share that. But the strangest part about it, when I first read it, I said, oh, back in December, so it took him a second. It's December 2019. This is just coming to light.
The week that, or, the month that the Eagles are in the Super Bowl as well.
But obviously it was already in motion because he was indicted. And to get indicted, that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, they said they were investigating him shortly after the incident. The interesting thing about that story was she was the girl who was assaulted, at least allegedly assaulted. She was with her cousin, and her cousin walked out of the car, and, she said, oh, the cousin just kept walking like nothing was happening.
I mean, it's 3 years ago, so I don't know what to believe, and I don't even know how they're proving this 3 years later, because usually they have to have some kind of physical evidence, right?
Correct.
But they've got some kind of smoking gun because he did get indicted. It went in front of a grand jury, and he's going to go to trial for it. So I don't know how. It's a little confusing at the end of the day, but there's some kind of smoke, and there's definitely going to be a fire in the offseason because he's got to answer to this. And if he does get acquitted, is all forgiven? Does he get to come back and play? And if he's found guilty, how long is the sentence? If it's any length, his career is over. Even if it is a lighter sentence, let's say he pleads it down. A lot of teams aren't going to want to touch him.
I could see him almost, even if he is acquitted. I know you got to give guys chances, but we've seen sports hold it against people before. I could see, since he's a backup lineman, this could be it for him. This could be the end, one way or another.
Yeah, and the mugshot that I saw of him doesn't look like he's in particularly great shape. I mean, he kind of looks like me with his shirt off. I'm like, dude, can you do a push-up or something? You're in the NFL.
Well, maybe that's why he's a 25-year-old
my God, man. You look like me, and I'm almost 50.
Maybe that's why he's a
You're an NFL player, so I'm sure you're in a little better shape. But I bet you if I got the first shot in, I'd at least have a puncher's chance in this brouhaha.
An old pub fight, they call that one.
I mean, most of these NFL players, man, you see him, you're like, that dude's jacked. That guy, you're like, wait a minute. I had a double read. I was like, who is he? Does he play for the team, or was he like the trainer equipment manager?
Looks like a long snapper with a bear belly.
Yeah, if that. Kind of dump looking. What are your jeers for the week? Do you have any?
I do, and I want to say jeers to the Denver Broncos. They obviously don't know what they're doing when it comes in terms of the coaching search. It sounded like they wanted Harbaugh, and then all of a sudden they flew out to visit Harbaugh, and he didn't want them to. And then they claimed they wanted Sean Payton, and then they go, hold on, DeMeco Ryans. They looked desperate at him last second, all to end up with Sean Payton and giving up more draft capital to pay him $25 million a year. I don't know what they're doing sometimes. I mean, he is a good coach, but the process they went through and the amount they had to pay for him, to me, that gets a jeer.
What about Joe Mixon? Did you see this story?
I was going to list him as well. I know you talked about him earlier, so I was like, but I was going to list him. That was my next choice.
What is he doing? He's pulling on a firearm and threatening someone right before it was like the day before the Buffalo game.
And I was in downtown Cincinnati last year. I know exactly where that spot is at, and it's a pretty populated area. So, I'm not surprised that someone at least allegedly seen it.
All they had to say was downtown Cincinnati, and I'm like, Mixon, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. The game before
that this news breaks after they're eliminated. Would we have known about this if they were going to the Super Bowl? Huh?
That's a good question. Yeah, and the thing with Mixon is this isn't his first slip up either. And he seemed like he did turn the corner and try and better his character after his college incident. But sometimes things happen. I know people in the locker room claim to like him, but now this is 2 screw-ups, and he's entering free agency as well.
Cheers. I'm going to give, if you haven't seen it, this is not sports related, don't care. If you haven't seen it, The Pez Outlaw, it's a documentary on, I believe, Netflix. It's really interesting about what this guy did to bring illegal Pez dispensers over. It's too long to explain. You got to watch it. It's a very unique guy, and the lengths that he went to run an illegal Pez dispenser ring into the United States. And every character in there is just an oddball. It's very Tiger King-ish. Like just the characters involved in this.
I loved Pez. I got a cheers, but I loved Pez back in the day as well. So I'm going to have to look into that for sure. My cheers overall is a little bit of a smaller cheers, but it's still a cheers. The Houston Texans finally seemingly doing the right thing, hiring DeMeco Ryans, who it was kind of funny when he played for them, he sued the organization. So cheers to them for seemingly patching up a soured relationship and getting, if not the hottest coach on the market, one of the hottest coaches on the market. Cheers to the Texans after 2 one-and-dones. It seems like they have their coach for the foreseeable future.
Got an appointment to make, so we got to jam out of here a little earlier. What is your walk-off?
My walk-off is this, brother. You enjoy the next week. You consume the sports for me, and when I get back, we'll catch up, and you let me know if any good stuff happens.
All right, brother. Be safe, and just be careful what you eat on those things, man. Also, do me a favor, and when you get back, we want to hear what has changed pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, what they're like. Like, is there, the buffets, do they still exist? Do people actually obey the sneeze guards, or they started getting lax again?
And I'm your man for that, because I went January 2020, May last year now, so I'll report to you.
All right, brother. We'll see you when we get back. Everyone keep it locked in here. First Name Sports on the way. Sports Map Radio. We'll see you on Monday.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Newnan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th.